Miles Tails Prower, everyone's favorite lovable two-tailed sidekick. Sometimes his genius plays a crucial part in saving the day, and other times he actively makes things worse and just gets in the way. Today, we're going to look at Tails' character in every mainline Sonic game and rank him from worthless to elite. He's not in the original Sonic the Hedgehog or Sonic CD, so let's start with his inception, Sonic 2, where he has a pretty strong debut. In single player, he follows Sonic through the entire game, and in co-op, player 2 gets to use him. He plays the exact same as Sonic, but with a smaller hitbox, so if he's able to maneuver all the same obstacles and keep up with the fastest thing alive, I'd say he's pretty darn useful. We'll put him in sidekick tier because he's not playable by himself, but he's borderline elite. Sonic 3 gives Tails the role of follower like the last game, but it adds the ability to fly solo with him throughout the entire campaign, and his trademark flight ability is absolutely broken. Also, in 2-player, he can lift Sonic and guide him through the air, easily making this our first elite tier. In Sonic and Knuckles, you can only play as Sonic or Knuckles. Shocker, I know, but that means no Tails whatsoever. He gone.
Oh no.
I'm not sure if this game's considered mainline, but Tails does make cameos throughout the game and transport us to special stages to collect Chaos Emeralds, so barely does anything. Sonic Adventure is a game where Tails evolves from being dependent on Sonic to proving himself as an equally capable hero. In the beginning of the game, he crashes his plane on the shores of Emerald Coast, and Sonic has to go give him a hand. Then throughout the action stages, he follows Sonic through each area, and in his story mode, we see him race Sonic to each goal and actually come out on top in every single level. That's a hell of a good sidekick if you ask me. But at the end of the game, Sonic's off fighting Eggman by himself, and Tails is left all alone to save Station Square. His training wheels are off, and he has to overcome this obstacle without Sonic's help, and he crushes it. Watching his journey of self-discovery unfold in this game is peak Tails, and it definitely deserves a spot in Elite. Sonic Adventure 2 is a tough one, because he's once again playable and has a big part in the progression of the story, but there's two things really hurting his case. First off, he's in a mech this time, so gone are his OP helicopter Tails. Instead, he controls this super clunky robot that's just really not fun to play as. I'd still consider it a solid sidekick tier though, if it weren't for him blowing the entire operation at the end of the game. This is one of the most iconic cutscenes in Sonic history. If you don't know what I'm talking about and are still avoiding spoilers for a 20-year-old game, skip to the timestamp on screen. But basically, they try to trick Eggman with a decoy Chaos Emerald, and when Sonic goes to give it to him and gets captured, Eggman bluffs and Tails absolutely sells.
You thought you could trick me with that fake emerald, didn't you?
So, how did you know it wasn't the real one?
Tails! Because you just told me, Fox Boy.
Now, it doesn't seem fitting because he got outsmarted, but he gets the brains tier for this one, because all the plans were his idea, and he does contribute, but he's a bit too much of a liability in this game. I'm grouping this trilogy all together because his character's handled the same in all three games. He's playable super early on or from the start, and is just as good as the other characters, so a nice and easy elite! This game introduces an entirely different gameplay style to the series, where you play as 3 characters at once and switch between them to solve puzzles and progress in the stage. Team Sonic consists of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and he's not really better or worse than the other guys, so he gets sidekick tier. All 3 of them would. The answer for this game is entirely dependent on which story path you take. Sometimes he doesn't play any role, but when he does appear, he doesn't do a whole lot. He'll follow Shadow through a stage, and if a second controller's connected, a player 2 can play as him. But again, he's not a very unique character, and is only in the game for a very brief moment.
Damn.
Releasing the exact same day as Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic Rush is similarly lacking in the Miles Prower department. Except this time, he's not playable at all, and he mostly just yaps in cutscenes, so pretty freaking worthless. The most notorious game in the Sonic series does in fact feature Tails as playable. He doesn't have his own story mode or anything, but in Sonic's, he steps in now and again to help out. His flying works okay, about as well as it could in a broken game, and his only attack being this super slow bomb throw flat out sucks. But still, he's playable and is a pretty useful sidekick. In Sonic Rush Adventure, he travels with Sonic throughout the entire story, but isn't seen at all in gameplay. Instead, he's off to the side working on gadgets and machines to help them escape
Robot Pirate Island!
Not very useful to the player, but his brains do get them out of a bad situation. He doesn't contribute much in this game, but he does carry Sonic and Chip from continent to continent in the tornado, and introduces them to Professor Pickle, who tells him how to revert the whole werehog thing and restore Earth. It's not a very prominent role, but he does something, so he gets a high barely does anything. Similar to Unleashed, he's right there with Sonic for the entire story, but here we actually see more of him. He develops a gadget to communicate with the Wisps and to figure out what Eggman's up to, which is pretty freaking useful and would take some brains, so... This game once again keeps Tails on the back burner. Sonic rescues him and his past self, and they just stand around in the hub world after that. Now, he does help out in the occasional side mission, but those aren't necessary at all, so we've got another worthless. Sonic 4 Episode 1 doesn't feature Tails in any way, shape, or form, but Episode 2 brings him back to his classic glory. He's playable in multiplayer and runs alongside Sonic during single player, occasionally lifting him up to new routes and attacking enemies, so solid sidekick tier. Sonic Lost World is the worst portrayal of Tails out of any Sonic media. He's smart, but he finds the need to brag about it at every f***ing turn, and he gets like really jealous of Eggman throughout the story, which is so unjustified and makes it impossible to sympathize with him. And then when he's kidnapped halfway in, I was low-key kinda happy. Now, he does help Sonic quite a bit, sacrificing himself to the trap Sonic almost fell into, rescuing himself from captivity, and fixing up his plane, so he's not entirely useless, just really unlikable, and it doesn't really fit the character we've grown to love. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't played this one, because I've heard just terrible things about it, but I do know Tails is playable and is a vital part of the team, so... And no, I'm not gonna count the handheld Sonic Boom games, same deal. Finally, another true classic Sonic game, and Tails returns to the playable roster, both alongside Sonic and by himself in single player. He can fly like usual to uncover new paths and damage enemies with his tails, so he's basically the same as he was in Sonic 3. Therefore, I hate this game, man, and there's a million reasons why, but Tails' character is near the top of that list. Where Adventure gives him a good arc overcoming his dependence, he slowly got less and less so in these modern games, and here, he's even more useless than Lost World. He's part of the quote-unquote resistance, but he really doesn't do much resisting. When Eggman attacks a group of civilians, he cowers down just like the rest of them, and needs his buddy to bail him out, and when he does, he just hides behind some rubble and watches Sonic get his ass beat. But that's not even his worst moment. When he's by himself trying to fix up E102 Gamma and Chaos Zero shows up to attack him,
Sonic, help me!
He bends over, cowering, and begs for Sonic's help. And right when his ass about to get yoinked, classic Sonic shows up to save him. This takes his dependence to an all-new high, and his usefulness to an all-time low. Worthless. This time around, a digital version of Tails comes with us through basically the entire story, providing advice, explaining all these ancient technologies, and tracking down the Chaos Emeralds, so he's textbook brains tier. However, the most recent update adds him as a playable character alongside Amy and Knuckles, and he's a ton of fun to play as, but since you only unlock him after beating the main game, it doesn't help his case at all. And finally, Sonic's latest 2D adventure features Knuckles, Amy, and Tails as playable characters throughout the entire main game, and Tails' flight ability and good speed stats make him one of my favorite choices, so he earns another elite tier. And there you have it. Real quick, if you take your Nintendo Switch on the go a lot and wish it was easier to lug around, you gotta ditch that clunky old dock. It's bulky, flimsy, and really doesn't have a good reason to be. And Accelerate Gaming's portable dock is the solution you've been waiting for. It cuts the unnecessary plastic of Nintendo's and gives you a sleek, durable, and very portable alternative. And it's only $20, so if you want to enhance your Switch setup and support this channel, go grab one now with an additional 15% off using code CLINGER. That promo is almost gone, so use it while you can. And if you disagree with me on any of the rankings in this video, leave your takes down in the comments.
Hey everyone, it's me, Tails. I just want to give a big ol' shout out to Jeremy Klinger. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you on the flip-flop.